Today, the feeling around this team is pretty clear. The Chargers are not building a roster just to hang around. They are building a roster to punch back. And honestly, that is what makes this whole conversation exciting. Because every story here touches something this fan base actually cares about. Draft value, protecting Justin Herbert, finding real offensive answers, creating hidden pressure on defense, and maybe even finding a young safety who could grow into something faster than people expect. There is a bold first-round bet. There is a veteran name that will absolutely split the room. There is an undrafted free agent with real steal potential. And there is a day 3 pick who deserves attention. If you are riding with the Bolts, subscribe right now. And the first story starts with something that I think people are making way too small. Because with all the noise around the offensive line, the draft movement, protecting Herbert, and those college free agents who might turn into real finds, Akheem Mesidor almost got pushed into the background. But a first-round pick cannot just become a side note. Not when the behind-the-scenes feeling is that, if he were a few years younger, he might have gone somewhere between pick 12 and pick 15. Just think about how big that really is. The Chargers got a player late in the first round who, from a pure talent standpoint, could have been viewed like a mid-first-round prospect. The big concern? Age. Mesidor is already 25. For some teams, that automatically hurts his value because the NFL loves projecting 21-year-old players like every franchise has forever to wait for development. But Los Angeles is not sitting in some slow 5-year rebuild. Jim Harbaugh's Chargers are trying to win now, protect Herbert now, get more physical now, and start putting quarterbacks under pressure right now. That is why I do not look at the age concern like it ruins the pick. To me, it almost explains the pick. Mesidor is coming off a season with 12.5 sacks and 17.5 tackles for loss. He is more physically ready. He has already produced. He already understands what it feels like to carry responsibility. And when you put that kind of player into a rotation with Khalil Mack and Tuli Tuipolo II, you are not asking him to be the entire defense by himself. You are building a front with power, variety, energy, and depth. The anonymous executive Jeremy Fowler spoke with said something really interesting. He views Mesidor as a really good first contract player, but wonders what you pay him when he is close to 30. And as a Chargers fan, I hear that and think this. If 5 years from now, the big debate is whether Los Angeles should pay Mesidor serious money because he became a real problem for opposing offenses, then the pick worked. That is not a disaster. That is the kind of problem good teams deal with. And there is some irony in this whole conversation. The same team that has no fear trusting Khalil Mack to keep playing at a high level, even at his age, clearly understands that age is not some automatic sentence when the player can still impact the game. Mesidor was not picked despite being ready. He was picked because he can get on the field early, hit early, and help this defense turn pressure into part of its identity. Now, this next story is the kind that grabs your imagination before the full analysis even starts. Deebo Samuel connected to the Chargers. Mike McDaniel in Los Angeles. Justin Herbert needing more help. Cap space sitting there. On paper, you can understand why people connect those dots so fast. Deebo had the best stretch of his career in San Francisco when McDaniel was in that offense with Kyle Shanahan, and the best version of Deebo looked like a weapon designed to destroy angles. Catches, carries, motion, contact, yards after the catch, chaos. That version was a nightmare. But that is exactly where Chargers fans need to slow down for a second. Because one thing is remembering 2021 Deebo, the player who had 77 catches, 1,405 receiving yards, 18.2 yards per catch, 365 rushing yards, and 8 rushing touchdowns. It is another thing to pay for him today and hope that version magically walks back through the door like time has not moved. The NFL is brutal with nostalgia. It charges you for the player you are getting now, not the old highlight reel. And I am not saying Deebo would have no value. He absolutely would. In a McDaniel offense, a physical and versatile weapon who can move around the formation could open packages, create hesitation, and give Herbert easier answers. But the real question is simple. How much of that versatility still changes games? Since that massive season, Deebo has only gone over 800 receiving yards once. He has not crossed 900 receiving yards in that stretch. And the rushing impact, which used to be such a huge part of the fear he created, was basically gone last season with 17 carries for 75 yards. So if the Chargers are going to invest in an older receiver, I still think Keenan Allen makes more sense. Not because he is more explosive, not because he gives you more creative toys on the play sheet, but because there is real trust with Justin Herbert. There is chemistry on third down. There is that connection that shows up when the play breaks down. When pressure arrives, when the quarterback needs to look at someone and know he is going to be exactly where he is supposed to be. Deebo as a backup plan would not be a disaster, not at all. If the price drops, if the market stays quiet, if McDaniel has a very specific role in mind, then you can have that conversation. But as the top priority, I would be careful. The Chargers do not need to buy a flashy name just to win a headline. They need to buy function. They need to buy fit. They need to give Herbert someone who solves real problems on Sunday, not someone who forces the fan base to sit there hoping 2021 shows up again in a different uniform. Nadam Tucker is the kind of name that does not arrive with a parade, but it does arrive with a trail. And that is exactly the type of bet Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz seem to like. A player who might have been overlooked because of size, label, or school, but still produced when the ball was actually snapped. Tucker was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year. That was not some empty award. He had 14.5 sacks and 21 tackles for loss at Western Michigan. And here is where this story gets even more interesting for the Chargers. Chris O'Leary, the new defensive coordinator in Los Angeles, worked with him. Sean Spence, the new inside linebackers coach, was also his position coach. So this does not feel like a blind swing. It feels like people inside the building saying, I know this player, I know how he works, I know what he can become if we develop him the right way. Sure, the size will scare some people. For an edge rusher, he is not the classic mold. Dane Brugler pointed out that he may never be well-rounded enough to become a starter, but his high-effort pass rush could earn him a role in sub-packages. And honestly, for an undrafted free agent, that is already a real path. He does not need to walk in and take somebody's job immediately. He needs to survive the summer, earn trust, learn from Khalil Mack, attack specific reps, and prove that explosion matters too. After Marlowe Wax, Nico Reed, and Eric Rogers helped open that door last year, nobody should treat UDFAs like automatic extras in Los Angeles. Tucker has connections, production, and urgency. Now he has to turn all of that into Sunday pressure. Genesis Smith is a pick I think people can underestimate pretty easily if they only look at number 131 in the draft. Fourth round. Safety. Arizona. A name that slipped a little further than some analysts expected. But for the Chargers, this kind of player can become important sooner than the usual, let's develop him slowly speech. The secondary needed help, that was not a secret. And Smith brings a profile that fits what Los Angeles needed to add. Size, instincts, physicality, and the ability to play deep without avoiding contact. ESPN's Matt Miller put it well when he said safety was one of the Chargers' top needs, and Smith was one of his favorite late day 2 targets before he fell to day 3. To me, that matters because it shows the Chargers did not just grab some leftover name. They found value. He is 6'2", 200 pounds, and he did not run wild workout times before the draft, but he plays with feel. And at safety, a lot of times that is the whole deal. You get there earlier because you understood it earlier. Smith finished his Arizona career with 164 tackles and 5 interceptions across 3 seasons. He is not just someone who shows up in the frame after the play is already over. He finds the football. He hits. He gets involved. And there is a real opening here. Tony Jefferson can still play meaningful snaps even at 34, but the future of that position needs fresh blood. Smith does not have to become a starter in September to justify the pick. He can start in sub-packages, contribute on special teams, handle specific situations, and keep earning more ground as he proves the game is not too fast for him. And I want to hear from the Chargers war room in the comments. Do you think Genesis Smith can steal snaps as a rookie, or is this a project built to pop later? At the end of the day, this whole script tells us one thing. The Chargers are looking for advantages in different places. Mesidor is ready talent with a debated label. Deebo is the famous temptation that has to be measured against Keenan Allen's real fit. Tucker is the smaller name with massive production. Genesis Smith is the defender who could grow inside the rotation before a lot of people even notice. That is how strong rosters get built. Impact, discipline, and competition. You do not have to love every single bet, but you can see the plan. If you want to follow every Los Angeles move with real analysis and real heart, subscribe, hit the like button, and come back for the next video.